Hi viewers, welcome back to our channel DNA, and today we are going to talk about the grade 7 chapter number 1 part 2, which I'll be discussing about the diversity of flowers, the diversity of seeds, and what are monocotyledon plants and what are dicotyledon plants. So these are starting from the page number 13. So let's go through along with our textbook. Okay, so the first I will be reading your textbook, so you all can follow my explanation by keeping your textbook in your hand. Okay, so let's go turn to page number 13 and let's start reading the structure of a flower. So all of you all have seen flowers in trees, and the most common flower that you all come across is the shoe flower. Okay, so here also in this experiment they have given you an experiment as well. In this experiment the flower that they recommend for you all to use is the shoe flower. Okay, so let's go through the textbook. The structure of a flower. The most attractive part of the plant is the flower. They differ greatly in size, smell, shape and color. So you have seen a lot of flowers, different types of flowers, different shapes of flowers, different colors of flowers. So actually this is known as the diversity. So you get a variety of colors, you get a variety of shapes of flowers. Okay, so each and every flower of different plants, they differ from each other by size, color, shape and smell. Okay, and when going below you can see a cross section, a longitudinal section of a shoe flower, and also you can see a complete appearance of a shoe flower. Okay, so they have named the parts. They have taken the longitudinal section and they have named the parts. So it's very simple. You can follow this activity even at home. What you can do is you just take a shoe flower and tell your brothers or sisters or uncles, tell someone to get you a big shoe flower, right? And then what you can do is using a blade, right? Using a blade, you can slice that shoe flower in a longitudinal section. So you will get as similar to the image shown in figure 1.19. Okay, so you can see the parts of the flower in your textbook. They have given you the stigma, stamen, and then you can see a style, then you can see petals, sepals, and ovary, and pedicle. Okay, pedicels. So that is called as the flower stalk. Okay, now let's go through the separate parts of a flower. Let me explain you in detail. The first part is the sepals. Sepals are generally green in color. The main function of sepal is the protection of a flower bud. So you all have come across these flower buds. You all have seen, if you just go near a shoe flower plant, right? So you can see there will be a bud like you can see here. You can see there will be a shape like a rubber ball. Okay, it will be green in color. So that is known as the flower bud. So that is covered. The main function of the sepal is to cover protect the flower bud. So before a flower blooms, right, the first stage of a flower will be a flower bud. So the main function of sepal is to protect that flower bud, and that is green in color. The sepals are green in color. Next you get the petals. Petals are brightly colored. They attract insects for pollination as well as protect the internal parts of the flower. You can see the petals are of different colors. Okay, the main function of petal is to attract insects. So when the colors are bright, okay, when they have good color, the insects they gradually come towards the flower, and that one helps in pollination. Okay, pollination is a process where the pollen grains of a particular plant is placed on a stigma of a flower. Okay, so that one I will explain you later. You can see the description here, what is pollination. Okay, so that is just a brief explanation I'm giving you. So later let's come to the topic pollination. So also the other function of petal is to protect the internal organs of the flower. So the flower, it has a lot of internal organs, so that the internal parts of the flower. So the main function of the petal is to attract insects, and next is to protect the flower's internal parts. Okay, next is the androsium. You can see an image here. The androsium in page number 14 you get the image. So it is the male part of the flower. We call it as the male part of the flower. And the stamen of a flower is called the androsium, which stamen is made up of two parts. So always the androsium is made up of two parts, the anther and the filament. You can see a small globular like structure that is called the anther, and the stalk like structure that is called the filament. So in whole we call this as the androsium, and that is the male part of the flower. And next you can see the function of the androsium is to produce pollen. I told you that pollination occurs with the help of pollens. So this androsium is the part which produces pollens for pollination. Okay, so the male part of the plant is responsible for producing pollens for the pollination process. Okay, and in page number 14, the same page, you get different shapes of stamens can be seen in different flowers. So you can see they have given you a lotus flower, you have given a sal. You all might have seen these sal trees, okay, and nyangala and sunflower. You can, when you observe all these flowers, you can see the anther or the androsium is totally different from one another, but the function is the same. Okay, so they have different structures, different shapes of anthers, but the function will be the same. Okay, producing pollen grains for pollination. Okay, let's go to the page number 15. There you go. With the, it's called as the gynosium. Okay, the gynosium is the female part of the flower. Okay, it has three parts. Gynosium contains of three parts: the stigma, style, and the ovary. You can see it in this image, the stigma, style, and the ovary. So you can see a longitudinal section of a gynosium of a flower, right? And you can see where the stigma, style, and ovary are located. Inside the ovary you have ovules. Okay, inside the ovary you have a structure called as ovules. The function of the gynosium is to produce seeds. Okay, now the function of the gynosium is what? To produce seeds. Okay, because seeds are the part which grows into another plant. So the gynosium function is to produce seeds. Okay. So let's go towards the next part of page number 15, diversity of fruits and seeds. Okay. Fruits are formed from the flowers of flowering plants. Seeds are found inside the fruits. Seeds produce new seedlings. Now I told you the gynosium produces seeds. Okay, seeds are the ones which turns into a fruit. Okay, so the fruits are the ones which produce, like the fruits, within the fruits you get the seeds, and the seeds, they produce new seedlings. Seedlings means where new plants could be formed. So with the help of a seed only you can get a new plant. So you all have, I think you all have you all have engaged in some cultivation at home, right? If you all have engaged in some cultivation, you will understand that when you take some seeds and you put it into a pot and you fill it with soil and you put it into a pot and then you water it, so gradually you can see plants, they arise from the seeds and they start to grow. Okay, they start to grow and they become huge trees. So a seed is the one which produces seedlings, and through a seedling it grows into a huge tree. Okay, so that is how the step-by-step process of a plant growth takes place. Okay, so let's go on to page number 16. All of you will turn to the textbook. You can see fruits and seeds are naturally adapted for dispersion. So what do you mean by dispersion? Actually, dispersion means where the seeds are spreaded, where the seeds are dispersed throughout the environment. So there are different ways how the seeds can be dispersed within the environment. Okay, so there are some plants which are naturally adapted. So what is the adaptation that you can see here? Now the first, in page number 16, they have given figure 1.23. The first image that you can see is a cotton. So what is the adaptation of cotton for it to naturally disperse? That is because the cotton is light in weight. Okay, it is very light. So even for the wind, it can be dispersed through the wind. It can go from one place to another, and it can be start growing in a different environment with the help of wind. That is called dispersion by wind. Next you have vara. That is also a very light seed. Okay, so that also can be dispersed by wind. Next is you can see horror. That is also you would have seen, like it's something like this, and you get a strong I mean like a ball like over here in between this. So when you leave it from top, it starts to rotate and fall. So it's also like a helicopter wing. Okay, it's just like a helicopter wing. It will be rotating and it will be dispersed with the help of wind. And next you have gammalu. It's a common thing you can see by the side of the street. Okay, so in many streets you could see this. So gammalu is also a seed which is dispersed by wind, with the help of wind. Right, so the next in figure 1.24 you can see the fruits and seeds which are dispersed by water. Right, so there are some fruits and seeds which are dispersed with the help of water. The first one you can see in the image is erica nut. We call it as puak in Sinhala. Okay, so erica nuts. Next one is coconut. Coconut also, you might have seen that coconut fruits, it falls onto water and it flows in the river, and it goes and lands onto a different environment and it starts to grow. So those are all modes of dispersion by seeds which are dispersed by water. And next, kotamba. Kotamba, it's common now when you just look into the Sri Lankan streets, right, where there are three-wheel stands, most of the by-lanes, right? You get, it's a common thing that you can see three-wheel stands in by-roads. So at most of the three-wheel stands you can see that there will be a kotamba tree, because kotamba tree branches are spreaded and they give a shade, because they grow that kotamba tree just for, mainly they grow it for, to get the shade. It covers you from direct sunlight. It provides you a good shady environment. So kotamba is one type of seed which is dispersed by water. And diakaduru. Diakaduru is also a fruit which is being dispersed by water. And lotus is a common thing that you all know. So it's also dispersed by water. And next, let's go to the page number 16, the below part. You can see fruits and seeds which are dispersed by animals. The first one is tomato, pepper, chilies, castor, and Nagadarana. So these are things. Now what happens is, now if you take pepper, you might have seen that squirrels and all these animals, they come and eat the pepper and they take it to another place and they go and eat it over there. So while they are eating, the seed starts to fall down and it starts to grow in a different environment. So these are the fruits and seeds which are dispersed by animals. Okay, so dispersion means where the seed is being dispersed into a different environment and enabling it to grow in a different environment. Okay, then next let's go to the page number 17, which explains about the Monocoque Lateness plants and the Dicot Lateness plants. Okay, so let's read the chapter to explain you further in detail. Flowering plants are mainly divided into two groups. Okay, the flowering plants could be divided into two groups. They are monocotyledons and dicotyledonous plants. Okay, let's see what are these monocotyledon and why they have given this name. Okay, so you may have seen that certain seeds can be divided easily into two seed lobes, whereas other seeds cannot be divided easily like that. So they are saying that certain seeds you can divide it into, so if the seed is in this manner, there are certain seeds where you can divide it into two lobes. Okay, but there are some seeds where you cannot divide it into two parts, two lobes. Right? There are two seed lobes. These seed lobes are called seed leaves. Okay, so the two seed lobes that we can divide are called as seed leaves. Seeds with two seed leaves are called dicot seeds. So di means two, dicot, dicotyledons means two cotyledons. The word di means it defines as two. Okay, so the seeds which have two lobes are called as dicotyledonous, and the seed which has only one lobe are called as monocotyledonous. In page number 18 you can see they have given you an example. In two figures they have given you an example, the germination of a monocotyledonous plant and a germination of a dicotyledonous plant. In this image you can see the first image, 1.26 figure. You can see that it's the monocotyledonous seed, right? Gradually the third picture you can see that it starts to grow, it begins to grow, and you can see in the fourth picture there is only one leaf germinating from it, and thereafter you can see it's growing further. So that means you can see only one seedling coming out. So that is called as the Monocoque Lateness seed. And the next image, 1.27 figure, you can see that gradually you can see in the last image, the seed develops into two seedlings. Okay, so that is called as a dicotyledonous seed. And now you all have learnt about this monocotyledonous and dicotyledonous, and see in page number 19 you get a table 1.5. In that they have given you the differences between a monocotyledonous plant and a dicotyledonous plant. So in your examination mainly they ask about this. In this chapter they will ask you mainly what are the difference between a monocotyledonous plant and a dicotyledonous plant. So you should be very familiar with this table. Let me just go through this table. And the first part is the leaf. Okay, the leaf you can see in monocotyledonous, it is a parallel venation. I think in chapter number 1 I have explained you what is parallel venation, and if you all have not gone to the video of chapter number 1, it's there in the comment below. I have a description below. I have included the link, so you can just click the link and move on to the chapter number 1 before you look into this video. So I have explained you about the leaf structure and the venation types and everything. So the parallel venation is present in monocotyledonous plant leaves, and reticulate venation is available in dicotyledonous plant leaves. And when you consider the flowers, 3 petals or its multiples, right? There will be in monocotyledonous plant flowers, there are 3 petals, and or else it is the multiples of 3. Okay, so in dicotyledonous you get 4 or 5 petals or its multiples. Okay, you get 4 or 5 petals or its multiples. So that is how it goes. Next, the seeds, only 1 seed lobe, and in dicotyledonous you have 2 seed lobes. The stems are not branched. Okay, and in dicotyledonous the stems are branched. The root, you get a fibrous root system, right? Fibrous root system, and in dicot plants you can see a taproot system. Now, let me give a good example for both of these. So you can take a coconut tree and a mango tree, a coconut tree or a jack tree. Okay, so you can see the differences between these two. Coconut tree is a monocotyledonous plant, whereas a dicot, example for a dicot tree is a jack tree, or a mango tree is a good example for a dicot plant. Okay students, so that is all for this chapter. So you all have been given exercises in your textbook, so I request you all to go through the exercises and complete the exercises again and again, right? Again and again, there is one sort of a revision that you all can do. So you all can go through your exercises even by referring the textbook once again. You all try to answer all the questions given in the textbook. Alright, so that is the end of today's video, and thank you very much for watching this video. And if you feel the content was useful, hit the subscribe button and click the bell icon, and so that you'll be notified whenever I upload a new chapter, a new video on your subject. And if you feel that this might be useful to your friends, just please like and share the videos so that even the others, your friends, can gain some knowledge on this particular chapter. So until we meet up the next time, have a great day.